So this is Chair Luke Marizak. I'd like to call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m., February 20th, 2024. And I'll start with the roll call. So I am present, Chair Maruziak, Vice Chair Testman.
Present.
I've gotten emails that Commissioner Aliff is absent and Commissioner Kilcup will be absent. Commissioner Crone?
Present.
Commissioner Lambert?
Present.
And Commissioner Smith said he would be calling in perhaps late, and I don't see him yet. So we'll see if we get him later on in the meeting, and we'll determine about, well, actually, I'll make a motion now that since we got advance notice from Commissioners Aliff and Kilcup, that we excuse them. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So is there any public comment for in-person attendees? Okay. Seeing none, I move that we approve the February 20th agenda as written. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
At this, we move into the next agenda item, the council liaison report.
Came a little faster than I was expecting. That's all right. All right. Good evening, Commission. A few things here. First is that February 24th, 2024 is Twin Peaks Day in Snoqualmie. That apparently is a date of some significance to the show. I haven't seen it yet. But I wanted to remind folks of that. Apparently, there are some events related to to Twin Peaks that will be occurring on that day. Let's see. Oh yes, the council approved AB 24-021, which was a resolution requesting that the growth targets for 2044 that were given to us by, remind me again, Zarteche, was it from the county? Yes, that's what I thought. Okay. From to be revised from 1,500 down to 719. And that's based on an extensive review of the properties that are available within the city. We are significantly limited in terms of the amount of growth we can have due to about half the town, something like that, being in a floodplain, and then the other half essentially being in a homeowners association that restricts the kinds of buildings that can be in various parts of Snoqualmie Ridge, et cetera. So that only leaves a few lots that could even be developed. I mean, I could almost count them on a couple of hands. That simply does not get us to the number of 1,500. And even 719 is somewhat ambitious as it is, but that's the best that we could do with the land that we have available. So the council is requesting that revision. Not sure when we'll hear back, but we'll see. The only other thing that I want to mention was that the council moved forward with a plan for a new solid waste collection contract, which will be a request for bid, correct? Request for bid. Okay, good. Got that right. And that is going to allow the city to ask a number of different companies from around the area to try to come up with the most competitive contract possible for the city. Our 7-year contract with Waste Management has ended, or not has ended, but is going to end by the time that we'd be able to implement the new contract. So that requires us to get a new one. The reason I bring it up is because as the Planning Commission, I think it's important to have kind of a holistic view of how the system of the city works together to plan properly. And one of the considerations is that this will likely lead to a massive increase in the cost for service because that contract is expiring. I don't have an exact number because we don't have the bids in yet, but the increased cost is likely to be somewhat substantial because the old contract shielded us some from some of the inflation that's been going on over the last couple of years. I believe that was all that I wanted to share, but I'd be happy to take questions.
Any questions? Commissioner, Vice Chair Tessman,
No, Chair, none for me.
Commissioner Crone,
None for me. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
None for me, thank you.
All right. None for me either. Thank
Great,
you,
thank you.
Councilmember.
Have a good evening.
And at this point, we move to approval of the minutes dated February 5th, 2024. I'd like to move that we amend one piece of the minutes. So the planning commissioner interest, it says article, I shared an article that mentioned Snoqualmie urban growth. What it was a Seattleite wrote this article, and it talked about how the King County City Council, due to the climate plan, denied Snoqualmie's tweak to the urban growth area. So that's actually what it was about. So move that we approve February 5th minutes as amended. I guess second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And thanks for sharing that article. For those who haven't seen it, it implied, without stating, that the King County City Council needed to keep cities like Snoqualmie in line from doing sprawl, of which I took offense to. So for the record, that's why we brought that up. Okay, moving on. Permit design, permit review, design review board, number 2, community centered design review, DRB 2024-0001.
Good evening, commissioners. My name's Andrew Levins. I'm a land use planning consultant contracted to assist the city in its review of this project. Before you tonight is an application for design review for a proposed expansion to the existing Snoqualmie Valley Community Center. This facility was originally approved in 2011 and has since been operated by the YMCA. The community center was originally conceived as part of the Snoqualmie Ridge Neighborhood Town Center and occurs within the mixed-use MU zone. The currently proposed expansion would nearly triple the current size of the facility and includes a new pool area complete with a competition-sized lap pool, a leisure pool, and other amenities such as a locker room, community room, and expanded fitness area. Exterior improvements are also proposed and include an exterior patio facing Southeast Ridge Street and a vehicular drop-off area at the rear of the site. The project was originally evaluated for environmental impacts as part of SEPA review for the Snoqualmie Ridge mixed-use final plan. However, enough time has passed that additional review of the current expansion is warranted. As such, the city will be conducting additional SEPA review when applications for building permits and site plan permits are submitted, which we are expecting to occur sometime in early to mid-March. The project will be evaluated for consistency with the Snoqualmie Ridge development standards and conditions as part of the site plan review process, and that's by the Community Development Department. Staff has reviewed the application for design review against the design review criteria found in the Snoqualmie Municipal Code. These findings are detailed in attachment 1 of the staff report that you've been provided tonight. In summary, staff finds that the project is largely consistent with the design review criteria in the municipal code and recommends design review approval of the current application. The design review board tonight may approve with conditions, or deny the application for design review. That concludes my brief introduction of the application. I'm now available to take any questions you might have or discuss anything about the application.
One just point of clarification, you said it is largely compliant with our code. Is there any area that you want to highlight that is on the edge?
No, sorry, maybe should be more specific. There are a few criteria that weren't applicable to the site and the project. So those portions of the design review criteria just don't apply to the project. But the other portions that are applicable to the application, we found to be consistent.
Okay, and this design review is for all the options or, I mean, I know there's a couple different options. I mean, how does this design review apply? Does it apply to all the options?
So the option before you tonight is currently they're backing up. There may have been earlier alternatives that were being considered, but the one that's before you tonight that is attached to the agenda is the alternative that's being considered. And that's starting on page 17 of your agenda packet tonight. So the design review report application has the details for the preferred alternative that will ultimately be, assuming tonight they receive design review approval. The alternative that's currently being considered is the one that's depicted in the agenda packet tonight.
Okay. Is it, can we put on the screen the page 17 and maybe just highlight the project?
Yeah, I've got it in front of me. If, oh, you got it too. You guys are fast.
$17, how's the site plan?
The site plan, let's see. This site plan is on page 27 of the agenda packet. And so that shows kind of the internal building configuration, what is currently being proposed, what's currently existing, and it kind of shows the relationship of the project to the overall site. So the figure on the right there has the currently existing building kind of shown in a scaled back gray, and the proposed facilities have the boulder walls in black there. So you've got a little bit on the right-hand side of the existing building to be added, and then the majority of the expansion will occur on the left-hand side of that diagram there, on the existing facility, where there are currently, I believe, 6 tennis courts that will be demolished as part of this project.
Yes?
Hi, Chair, City Administrator. We actually have the architect here with the presentation ready, if you'd like to just
Yes,
run through
let's go
the
ahead.
whole thing. And
Well, the
it's
highlights,
three,
just-
it's 3 tennis courts, not 6.
All right. Good evening. I'm Ken Murphy with ALSC Architects, one of the members of the Apsher ALSC Design Build team. Yeah, if you'd like me to do a quick overview of the project.
Just a quick overview, yes, please.
Okay, I will do that. Oh, all right. So in this diagram, the darker blue is the additions that we're doing. So that lighter blue, the existing building, the existing community center. And so on the right-hand side of that, that little addition there is a couple of fitness studios. And then the majority of the new project, the natatorium, the spaces that were just mentioned a minute ago. So we got a new natatorium, a community room, support spaces of the locker rooms. They're there. Oh, go ahead.
Can you make that bigger to fill up more of the screen?
I assume I can.
I think that the little square with the 2 diagonal arrows there. Right there, yeah.
So the development is maintaining most of the green space that's along Ridge Street. The amphitheater that's on the far left-hand side is being maintained. And then we are doing a little bit of modifications to the site, but very, very little really. as far as the parking lot. We are creating a new drop off on the back side of the building. And I'll show you in some other images, but creating a stronger pedestrian connection to Ridge Street. Currently, there's a set of stairs that go up from Ridge Street to the existing building. But the way the existing building is designed, there isn't good control from that standpoint. So typically those doors are actually locked when you get up there. So we're developing a new pedestrian connection that'll be ADA accessible from Ridge Street up into the entryway from the street, as well as from the drop off on the back side of the building.
Move your cursor a little bit to the right, to that one square. Just click that one square. No, your cursor on the bottom. Yeah, to the right, one more, wait. Right there. Yeah, hit that.
All right.
Huh, okay, give us more, okay.
So a little more of a zoomed in image of the site, and you can start seeing a little bit more detail of the pedestrian connection to Ridge Street, as well as the plaza. And I'll show you a 3D image of the plaza in a minute here, but the plaza that is looking out kind of back towards town, that's a community asset as well. And you can see the little bit darker gray on the back side of the building. That's, really the revisions to the parking lot and creating a good drop off zone for the entrance there. Yeah, go for it. Not getting this to advance either.
So one of the key points about the design and that pedestrian connection is it's going down to Ridge and Center. And the goal with that is not only to get people invited into the building from the main intersection, but even to energize that commercial area too with some of the users of the facility making their way down to buy ice cream or food after some lessons.
Okay,
So this is a floor plan of the space. So the lighter gray area are all the existing functions. There's a little bit of work going on in the existing, but not a lot. And then the majority of the project, or on the left-hand side, you can see, of course, the lap pool, a rec pool, and then to the upper area there is all the support spaces of the locker rooms and the family changing areas. Number 14 is the community room. So as you walk in the new main entrance, either from Ridge Street or from the drop off, you get into area 3 there. It's kind of a living room space. You can get access into the community room, into the natatorium, or into the existing area of the facility.
okay, and 15 is, describe 15?
15.
The natatorium.
Yeah, that's the natatorium. So we've got a 6-lane lap pool in there, a recreation pool that's got a current channel. It's got a 0 depth entry to it and has some play toys in it for activities.
Is that suitable for lessons?
It is suitable for lessons. So certainly the lap pool can be used for lessons as well. But there's an area, see on the cursor here, right? This area can also be used for lessons. So lots of program flexibility on how the space will be used.
It's projected that we'll be able to get 1,200 kids a year through there in swim lessons.
Okay, good, very good.
Yeah.
No, I see it at Skyview and Julius Bohm. It's absolutely packed. Okay, and then on the laps, they have, I don't recall them, diving start blocks.
Starting blocks, yep,
That it'd be suitable for swim meets.
correct.
Okay.
Yep. We have those, and we have the depth that's required at that end of the pool to accommodate that.
Okay, no, wait, before you go on, just want to ask any commissioner, let me just pull the commissioners real quick. Any questions at this point, Vice Chair Tessman?
No, you covered the one on swim programs, so I appreciate that.
Okay, Commissioner Crone?
Just a comment. This is beautiful. I live steps away from here, and thank you so much. I'm so excited for the community. I wish my kids were still little, so thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
Can I ask, it looks like you guys are reducing the number of parking spots in the parking lot, but tripling the size of the building?
That is correct. We are reducing, it's about 3 stalls that we're losing in the existing lot. And we are working through what is required parking. And we're looking at a number of different ways. So although we are reducing parking, there is more parking on site. Between on-site and the what the code allows for on-street parking. We're also testing that with the trip generation from a traffic work that we're doing. And all of those are showing that there's more parking that is required, but it is 3 stalls less than there are today.
If you don't mind me also interjecting, during our pre-application meeting with the architects, we reviewed the parking requirements, and currently for community centers, there is no parking requirement in the code. It is up to the discretion of the community development director. Additionally, there is a parking, it's a requirement, but it's in the Snoqualmie Ridge CCNR, so it's not really up to the city to enforce. But just as a rule of thumb, that parking requirement, I believe it was 1 space for every 200 feet. And the current design of the facility greatly exceeded that metric. So even with the additional space, when you consider the available on-street parking, the expanded facility is not expected to exceed that metric of 1 space per 200 square feet.
Okay. Anything else, Commissioner Lambert?
No, this time.
Okay, keep going.
So an aerial image, looking kind of if you're above the park, really. And so most of what you're seeing on the left-hand side is the existing building, the scale of the building. That area on the far left is the studio addition that we're doing. And then you're seeing on the kind of the top right of the page where the main addition, the natatorium and the community center, and that's where the new main entrance is located. So you can't see it very much in this image. I'll show you some others, but using similar materials as the existing building, wanting to tie this facility in so it looks like it goes together and it's been part of an overall composition has certainly been one of the goals of the project. You can see a little bit on this image, and we will be screening all the mechanical. We do have rooftop mechanical similar to the existing building, and that will be screened as required by the code.
Okay.
Another aerial image swinging a little bit further over, looking more at the natatorium area and that drop off. Have a little bit of a roof canopy, and so an area for people to be waiting to be picked up and dropped off, waiting for parents, getting into the facility there. So an image down from Bridge Street, showing that pedestrian pathway, getting up, obviously the amphitheater on the left. And you can see a little bit of that plaza that's up there, as well as looking into the natatorium, and show you some views of that. So again, a similar use of materials to the existing building and tying in how that is working and breaking down the scale really of the addition with the existing building. Same general view, but how that might look at night, and the almost the glow that we're getting and the activity that you'll see from how the presence will be as you're down in the more the community area and approaching that either along Bridge Street or from the commercial developments that's down that area. If you want me to stop and you have questions.
Yeah, no, keep going.
So just a closer up view of this pathway that we've been, creating. So it is an ADA path, unlike the existing path. And we've designed the entryway and worked with the people, that are gonna run the facility, that they will allow access into the facility and have good control with people coming from both the drop off as well as this pedestrian connection. So it won't be arriving at a sign with the door being locked off. So. This is just pointing out, I think this is in your package, just where that view will be at that natatorium that you'll be seeing as you're approaching the street. The view up on that plaza. So from the community room, and open directly out onto that plaza and be just nice amenity for the community, taking a break from the facility, some overflow space, just lots of different flexibility on how that could be used in conjunction with the natatorium or with the community room or the general lobby of the space. Close-up view on the other side, the drop off, the new main entryway, showing a little bit more of the characters you're waiting to be, like mentioned, being picked up or getting dropped off, and the new entrance into the facility. When you walk in, you'll have a strong visual connection into the natatorium. You'll be looking through the community room out to the view that we're just looking at towards the city.
Okay.
Some of the materials, this was, in your packet, some of the materials, and again, just trying to tie the old and the new, so it feels like, one project and one community center. So a lot of similar materials, similar colors. Around the top of the natatorium, we are using a translucent panel, so we're getting really good natural light into that space. A little bit better thermal characteristics than if it was glass. And so during the day, we'll get good natural light into the interior as well as at night. It's just a little bit of a glowing beacon that you'll see as you saw in that night image. Some of these other diagrams, they're in your packet, so I don't know if you really want me to go through them, but just studying, what the circulation is going to be and what especially the pedestrian connections to the park, to the city, how they get into the facility and what that sequence of arrival will be.
Okay. I think it's a good overview.
Okay.
I'll do a quick poll of the planning commission. And then I want to get into the board criteria. But first, Vice Chair Tessman, any questions for the architect?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Crone?
None, thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
None, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now I'd ask that we view the design review board criteria analysis.
Go ahead and share that.
Yeah, if you could zoom in that a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Who's driving?
That is me.
Okay. So again, without reading every word, if you could just kind of highlight the areas of SMC 17.80.050 that you had to consider for
Sure.
planning commission. And as we go through, I'll poll the planning commission, just make sure if there's any specific questions that we have an opportunity to ask them. And so we'll go by group. So we'll start with the A group. And after that, I'll ask if there's any questions and we'll go through it. Just again, make sure that we're thorough.
Oh, can you guys still see that? My Adobe Reader just seems like it crashed. Let me try opening that on a separate program. But just generally, section A is concerned predominantly with the relationship of the structure to the site. So kind of how the architect was describing, this addition occurs primarily on the western side of the existing building. And in some ways, it arguably, oh, here we go. Some ways it arguably develops a stronger relationship to the street than the existing building does. So, for example, A1, the site should have a strong transition to the streetscape. I think it's very clear that the corner element that faces Center Street, as well as creates a physical and visual connection down to the sidewalk, really does facilitate a better transition than what's currently there. It's, in my mind, clearly consistent with this guideline. A2 parking and service areas should be located in the back. This outside of view from the street, the proposal is consistent with that guideline as well. With a proposal like this, you might get concerns about height and scale, but in this neighborhood, a structure like this is very consistent with what's already existing there. There's a school next door, there's a retail area across the street, and it's not out of scale with the existing building that's already occupying the site.
Okay, let me just do a quick poll for A1, A2, A3. Vice Chair Testman, any comments?
Nope, good on those three.
Okay. Commissioner Crone,
No comments.
Commissioner Lambert?
No comments.
Okay, I'm good as well. Can we move on to section B?
Sure. So this section B is concerning the relationship of the structure to not only the parcel itself, but the adjoining area. So the harmony and texture and lines and massing, as the architects had described, the proposed design takes a lot of cues from the existing building, and it is consistent in scale with the surrounding development. There are horizontal elements and material choices that are lifted from the existing structure and reused on the proposed structure to create a cohesive or harmonious design. B2, an appropriate landscape transition to adjoining properties should be provided. I think that this project successfully transitions to the adjoining properties. You've got the strong relationship to the street. Behind the project, there's a park. To the side of the project, there's a school with a generous landscape buffer between the two buildings. The design really achieves that transition successfully. B3, public buildings and structures should be consistent with neighborhood character. Again, kind of describing how the structure really is consistent in scale and size with what's already there. It's clearly a public building as it is oriented towards the street. It's the visual anchor of Center Street, and it's kind of the heart of the neighborhood center when it comes to the public buildings anyways. So considering that it's building off of an existing structure, it is consistent with this guideline in that it's consistent with the existing neighborhood character. And then B4, vehicular and pedestrian circulation patterns should be compatible. We're really not seeing a lot of modifications to the existing vehicular and circulation pattern. The original design review approval did have some concerns about the interactions of vehicles and pedestrians in the parking lot, but those were resolved by integrating crosswalks into the design of the parking lot. And so continuing that design forward and not removing it, we would expect not to see new pedestrian and vehicular conflicts arise from that. In fact, the new pedestrian connections to Center Street and to Southeast Ridge Street from the building should serve to reduce those incompatibilities.
Okay. So again, I'm going to do the same poll for section B. Vice Chair Testman, any comment, questions?
None.
Commissioner Crone,
None for me, thanks.
Commissioner Lambert?
No.
I also have none. Let's move on to section C.
We've got one more from B here, but this one we determined was not applicable because, like we had mentioned, there's not really any alterations to the existing on-site circulation pattern. So section C, it's concerning preserving the topographic pattern of the site to make sure that its natural beauty is preserved and enhanced. So this project does not propose significant modifications to the existing topography. It's preserving the landscape amphitheater down at the end of Center Street and really utilizing the topography in a way to accentuate the building but not impose on its surroundings. So we found this design was consistent with this guideline. C2, the grading of paved areas should promote safety and provide an inviting and stable appearance. From what we could tell, the grading of parking areas will remain largely unchanged from the current condition, except for the pedestrian drop-off area, the vehicular drop-off area. A new pedestrian pathway does propose to connect the exterior patio area to Southeast Ridge Street. And we would expect, based on the renderings provided, that these would be consistent with this guideline.
Okay, keep going. Go to the end of C.
All right. So landscaping should enhance the architectural features and provide buffers between incompatible land uses, as well as provide shade. We did not see land use incompatibility in this area, and significant landscaping buffers are built into the design of this site and the sites surrounding it. So we determined that the proposed expansion was consistent with this, this guideline. It's worth noting that a detailed landscape plan will be submitted and reviewed as part of the applicant's site plan permit application. So this isn't necessarily, this will also be reviewed at a later time when the final details of how many plants are being removed, how many are being added, are determined. So for those reasons, we thought it was consistent. In locations where plants for C4, locations where plants will be susceptible to injury by pedestrians or motor traffic, mitigation steps should be taken. The organization of the site provides clear pedestrian paths and vehicular areas. We did not see conflicts and thought that this was consistent with this guideline. C5, where building sites limit plantings, the placement of trees or shrubs in paved areas is encouraged. While there is landscaping proposed for the parking lot area, this site is not constrained in a way that limits plantings to paved areas. So we did not see this as an applicable guideline. C6, the screening of service areas should be accomplished by walls, fencing, or plantings. Screening should be effective in the winter and summer. The applicant has indicated that evergreen shrubs and trees will screen service yards, utility areas, and the materials that will be used to construct these areas will be consistent with the architecture of the building. So for these reasons, we thought it was consistent with this requirement or this guideline. Then C7, in areas where plantings will not prosper, other materials may be used. The applicant has indicated that inorganic materials such as mulch, rock, and boulders will be used in areas with non-mowable slopes. So these materials will provide stability to the terrain as well as visual interest in place of the landscaping that will be missing from those areas. So it's consistent with this guideline. Guideline C8, exterior lighting when used should enhance the building design and the adjoining landscape. We thought that the nighttime renderings provided with the project showed that the proposed landscaping did enhance the building architecture and landscaping, and a photometric plan that was provided with the plans indicated that there would not be significant spillage onto other sites. So it was consistent with this guideline.
Okay. Again, let me pull the commission to see if there's any comments on section C. Vice Chair Testman, any comments?
No, looks like it meets it.
Okay, Commissioner Crone,
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert? Commissioner Lambert, any comments? Not hearing any.
Nope, sorry.
And I also have no comments. I think this was a thorough look. Let's move on to section D.
All right, so now we're talking about building design. So D1 is really just saying that the design review committee should not judge a project because they don't like its architectural style. It should be based on the quality of its design and its relationship to its surroundings. So we found that the proposed addition complements the existing structure in the project site. It appears consistent with the natural environment surrounding it, as well as the buildings and existing development in the area. And for those reasons, the proposed pool expansion is consistent with this guideline. D2, buildings should be of appropriate scale and in harmony with neighboring developments. This building, like we've said, is consistent in scale and design with the existing neighborhood. There is a residential neighborhood across Southeast Ridge Street, which should be a consideration, but there is sufficient buffering and physical space between the two developments that it shouldn't be a concern. For those reasons, we found it was compatible with this guideline, consistent with this guideline. Building components, windows, doors, and eaves should have good proportions in relationship to one another. All components and ancillary parts should be consistent with the anticipated life of the structure. The applicant indicated that the use of alignment and asymmetry enhances the aesthetics of the building, and staff concurred. This is a pretty, it's a pretty subjective guideline, but we found that the proposed expansion was consistent with it. Paint and material, D4, paint and material colors shall be selected to coordinate the entire facade and be compatible with adjacent buildings. The exterior materials of the expansion are consistent with the existing structure and do not, they are not incompatible with other developments in the area. The project is still subject to the Snoqualmie Ridge development standards, which will also be reviewed as part of processing the site plan permit. And so we would expect that this proposal would remain consistent with guideline D4. For guideline D5, mechanical equipment on the roof should be screened from view. Roof, ground, or buildings should be screened from view. The landscaping plan indicated that loading areas and trash enclosures will be adequately screened, and the applicant has indicated that rooftop equipment will also be screened consistent with the existing design of the building. For guideline D6, exterior lighting should be a part of the architectural concept and harmonious with building design. So the photometric plans that the applicant has provided we feel show that the proposed plan is consistent with this guideline, and the nighttime renderings do seem to indicate that exterior lighting will be a part of the architectural concept. So we found the proposed expansion consistent with this guideline. Monotony of design in single or multiple building projects should be avoided. A variety of detail, form, and siding should be used to provide interest. The project successfully uses asymmetry between the parts of the existing structure and the proposed structure to add visual interest, and we thought that it was consistent with this design guideline. So that's the end of section D.
Okay, again, let me do the round robin. Vice Chair Testman, any comments on section D?
None.
Commissioner Crone?
None for me.
Commissioner Lambert?
None.
I do have one question, and it might be encompassed in D5. From a sound perspective, with the necessary pumps and equipment on the roof, it's going to be not noticeable. I mean, it's not going to be a neighborhood nuisance, right? Sound wise?
Maybe the applicant can speak to the specifics regarding the mechanical equipment. I'm not sure, although I would know the project is required to be consistent with environmental performance standards. So we would expect there would not be impacts at the property line.
Yeah, it's just air handling equipment on the roof. The pumps and everything are inside the block part of the pool area.
So we're not gonna hear any
So
pumps.
You're not
and
gonna hear the.
the stuff on the roof is similar to other commercial buildings.
Correct,
There's
and
nothing
it's gonna be on
unusual.
the back side from Ridge Street. So it's sheltered by the building itself on Ridge Street, and then it's screened the rest of the way, and it's not gonna be any more noticeable than what's out there now.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Okay, section E.
Last two, miscellaneous structures and street furniture. So miscellaneous structures and street furniture should be designed to be part of the architectural concept of the design. Materials, scale, and colors should be in harmony with the buildings and surroundings. Staff concluded that the proposed structures that are associated with the building will most likely be consistent with this guideline, as the applicant has indicated that materials will match the architecture of the building. There won't be any street furniture along Southeast Ridge Street, but the on-site furniture depicted in the renderings and that we would expect to see here was consistent with the concept of the building to the extent that could be evaluated. So we found that it was consistent with this guideline. And then E2, lighting in connection with miscellaneous structures and street furniture should meet the guidelines applicable to the site, landscape, and building. There was no, well, applicant indicated it was not applicable, and we also did not see any lighting for any of these miscellaneous structures on site. So this we determined was not applicable. And that is the last of it.
Okay. Vice Chair Tessman, any comments on section E?
Nope, thank you.
Commissioner Crone,
No comment. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert?
No comment.
Okay, I don't have any comments on that either. Okay. That covers the guidelines. And then I see we have the general use application. Let me get back into, so just one more poll for the general concept. Any questions for the architect or on the codes, on the guidelines? Just one more poll, and then we'll put it to a motion. Vice Chair Tessman, any other comments or questions regarding the poll to anyone?
No, just beautiful, excited. It's a gap we have in the community, so it's going to be fantastic.
Okay, Commissioner Crone.
I echo everything just said.
Okay, Commissioner Lambert.
No comments.
All right, then at this point, I agree with everything that's been commented on here. At this point, I move that we approve DRB 2024-0001 as submitted. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Okay, that is approved by the Planning Commission. You can check that one off. Welcome. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for everybody who showed up, and thank you for the detailed review of both the architect and the items. Appreciate that.
I don't know if you noticed, but there's a model of it in class case out there.
I did not notice. I did not notice. Wow. We'll take a look afterwards. Yeah, excitement all around. Okay. Again, thank you, everybody. So at this point, we move on to agenda item number 3, environment element. I think as everybody recalls, we had some language that we wanted clarification on. I did receive the roll-up, but I just wanted to make sure that everybody in the Planning Commission was comfortable with the language that we'd gotten. And I don't know if Community Development Director Arteche, if you wanted to highlight anything, oh, I'm sorry, on that.
Hello, sorry, it took me a second. I just need to organize myself in the minutes. Last meeting, when we were discussing a few policies regarding the environment element, there seemed to be some clarification that would have been appreciated on a couple of terms that the tribe had offered. And due to some of the confusion, even though there was a consensus that was drawn, we thought it would be best to bring it back just to make sure that what was approved at the last meeting is what the committee, I mean, the commission does intend to go with, or whether or not we would like to alter the language before sending it to committee. So what was agreed upon at the last meeting was retaining the idea of traditional ecological knowledge. And if you look further into the packet, I believe that one is G. So apply best available science, including traditional ecological knowledge, to protect critical areas such as wetlands, landslide, hazard, and erosion-prone areas, and maintain these areas in their natural condition, including native vegetation preservation. So that one, the proposed revisions were accepted. With the other one, there was debate on whether or not to keep, establish, and maintain relations with Native American tribes for the preservation of archaeological sites and traditional cultural properties that are vulnerable to climate impacts, or to alter to say follow the principles of free, prior, and informed consent with regard to Native American tribes for the preservation of archaeological sites and traditional cultural properties that are vulnerable to climate impacts. So if you look on what has been drafted for number E, you'll see that it says establish and maintain relations. So it doesn't go into the free and prior informed consent. So I hope that everyone had an opportunity to look at the information that staff had gathered and shared, to hopefully further develop a knowledge base on what free, prior, and informed consent means.
Okay, so one of the things I did notice is we were referring to Native American tribes plural. And in this specific case, there's just one, or is there more than one? It's just Snoqualmie Tribe, right?
You look like you wanted to say something.
I would just say that there are other tribes that have interest in Snoqualmie, that have connections through the Snoqualmie River.
Okay, okay.
So
No,
I
was
mean,
thinking about
they've
that. Okay.
expressed a connection to Snoqualmie in other planning processes before I was here, like the Muckleshoot
Right,
tribe.
right. Okay, that makes sense. Okay. Good, good. No, I appreciate the work and the follow-up. I think we had a good discussion last time from the planning commission. So let me pull the members here and just make sure we've addressed the concerns. You've addressed my concerns, but I want to make sure that if there's any outstanding concerns, we cover those now. Was there anything else? Because I think you hit the points we highlighted.
Yes, those are the two things that we specifically.
Okay. Vice Chair Tessman, any comments or discussion points?
No, thank you for addressing those. It was a point of contention in the last meeting, so we're in a good spot.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was just clarification. I just didn't think we understood where they were going with it. At least I didn't. Commissioner Crone?
No, I agree with the sentiments. I think this is clearer, at least to me as I read this. So thank you for the work and the background information. That was really helpful.
Okay. Commissioner Lambert?
So you're asking, are you asking if we agree with removing the free, prior, and informed consent from the? Or are you just asking if I have any other comments about the?
Comments with the guidance as written.
Okay. I guess the only comments would be, I think that we should put back in the follow the principles of free, prior, and informed consent in regard with Native American tribes. That would be my only comment.
Do we not? We highlighted that that was,
Yes, so currently that
sorry.
is not in the recommendation. So that is something that does need to be clarified if there is a collective agreement to add that back in to retain the proposed change.
what section was that in?
It is one, I think it's G, no, E.
E.
So E, you see how E is different than what is written in the memo?
So we say establish and maintain relations with Native American tribes for preservation of archaeological sites and traditional cultural properties that are vulnerable to climate change. And the part you wanted to put back in,
It says follow the principles of free, prior, and informed consent. So that's why information was shared on what free, prior, and informed consent entails.
yeah, why do you think that should go back in? Why do you think that E is not strong enough? Commissioner Lambert?
I mean, there's a reason why the tribe put in the free, prior, and informed consent. Like, this is an established principles around dealing with their land and, you know, their archaeological sites. So I think it's following the principles of that have been recognized and, you know, inherent in their prior rights to their lands, territories, and resources. So I mean, it's a principle that's accepted pretty much I mean, even by the UN. So I think it should be in there if we're talking about Native American lands and we are.
Yeah, the thing that was concerning is we didn't have a definition of what the Snoqualmie tribe, at any rate, considered their cultural sites. Because I remember, you know, when the hotel was being built, there was concern about that. I don't think they would have given prior and informed consent. And then we obviously had the issue with where we have the you know, the trees, the Christmas trees selling. So yeah, I mean, I think the issue is we didn't have a good, clear definition of what areas they would want free, prior, and informed consent. So we said we're going to make sure that we communicate very clearly with you, and we didn't want to be you know, a blank check for any place in Snoqualmie. I think that was the reason why we didn't want that in there. Now, if the definition were clarified outside of what is Snoqualmie proper, I think that would be a different thing. And it was tuned up by what happened with the model museum. Yeah. And the fact that we still don't have a colored area of what Snoqualmie tribe considers their cultural lands. Sorry, go ahead. Were you gonna say something?
I'm trying to find the email that I sent that specifically listed what properties would fall under this. I'm looking through my sent emails currently, because this was one of the things that we shared information about over email.
Yeah.
Emily, do you have the email?
Yeah. Just a second.
Yes, does this look recognizable? This is what Commissioner Aliff had
Right.
shared. And then there was
This is very
also-
good. Yeah.
There was also a list that I believe the director found.
Yeah, again, not what you're looking at, not to put too fine a point on it. It's open for discussion. I recalled not just the train museum, but also the very strong objections to the hotel that was built. and things like that. Was there any area where, where development was not open to this informed consent? And not getting a clean answer on that, I thought that the way it was rewritten was better. Preservation of archaeological sites, traditional culture, properties are vulnerable to climate change. Yeah.
So this is the traditional properties that are listed on the National Register that are relevant and close.
Just, Chair,
Yes.
I'd just like to point out that I don't know if there's a correlation between what's registered as historical and cultural and free prior consent. I don't
Right,
know if
I'm
the- I
looking at that
think the
going,
two are-
okay,
The two are different.
Right. I mean, I don't think, I understand that's registered, but that's not, I don't believe the Snoqualmie, I could be wrong on this. I don't believe the Snoqualmie Depot is a Snoqualmie tribe cultural or archaeological site. But it kind of goes to my point that we absolutely want to be in very strong communication with the tribe and make sure that they're informed with the development, like we did with the model train museum, or like ultimately happened with the model train museum. However, we don't want to give them a blank check that any development we want to do, they can say, I object, which that was the concern. And it was tuned up by what happened with the model train museum.
Right.
So I'm open for other comments. Vice Chair Tessman, what do you feel?
I am fully sensitive to what we're talking about here, the historical context, right? And I get that that's where those UN guidelines come from. I guess some counterpoints in my mind would be, what's at play here? Sovereign government to sovereign government relations. In this case, the city of Snoqualmie to the tribe, to the Snoqualmie tribe and other interested tribes. I'm not aware of any other government to government, state to state relationship where essentially the legal requirement is free and informed consent. So I just would hate to go down the path of getting the city on the hook for that. Now, that's recognizing fully that any and all development actions for sure within and around Snoqualmie should complete a consultative process with the tribe. But the heart of the matter for me is just that potential veto override. And I personally don't support giving a veto override to the tribe for stuff that's within the purview of the city of Snoqualmie. So I get it. The counter argument to all that would be originally this was Snoqualmie tribe's land. I totally get that. I'm just fast forwarding to where we are today. And so I think it should be a consultative process. I don't think it should be a veto authority.
Yeah, that's kind of where we landed. What do you think, Commissioner
Those are
Crum?
largely my comments too. I mean, I appreciate the way the vice chair put it, but I'm not opposed to including language around FPIC personally, the way I read it. I think that a qualifying statement about, indigenous lands, I think the document goes on to say projects affecting indigenous peoples. And that to me too feels a little open-ended. And that was my original, I guess, gut reaction to not liking the way it was phrased originally. So I too agree that I thought that the rewrite was a little bit, I don't know. I thought the rewrite was better. And I don't know if we could include some language that, encourages FPIC principles, for future engagements or something like that, if there's guidance in other documents that might help inform this situation. I just thought it was a little open-ended.
Yeah, I mean, I was, again, we were all very informed by what happened with our tree lot. And which, I mean, that was city land. I mean, that should not have been come up there, but it did. And we were thinking that, if we're not careful, anything won't apply. So, well, actually, we could really go round and round. Commissioner Lambert, has this discussion changed your thoughts at all, or is it you're still thinking the same thing?
It has not changed my position, no. Out of curiosity, just a hypothetical question. Because you guys you're concerned about veto power by the tribe. If the tribe bought the Woodman and it decided to demolish it, would we allow them?
Yeah.
I mean,
It's not in the historical district that they're not allowed to modify.
yeah, that would go to the DRB, right?
Yeah, if that's a registered historical building, I think, yeah, I think it would fall under the historical district discussion. Yeah,
So then we would have a veto power.
yeah.
But
Under the constituted laws of
Three
the city of
Sisters, the Three Sisters area that is very important to the tribe doesn't have a veto power.
But the difference is the territorial boundaries of the governmental entity. In the case of the Woodman, those are within the boundaries of the city of Snoqualmie. In the case of, you know, the city of Snoqualmie is not saying anything. I'm not even sure I don't know if there was consultation on casino expansion, but certainly the city of Snoqualmie didn't have a veto power for that because that's within the territorial jurisdiction of the Snoqualmie tribe.
Yeah, no, we have very little visibility to that $400 million construction there. But I also recall that if they would have had a veto power, they objected to the hotel that was recently built, and that's way up the parkway. I mean, so yeah, I mean, at any rate, I believe having a good relationship, consulting, making sure that we're sensitive to the areas, and I think that with the tree lot, there definitely was very high sensitivity there, and I think the person that was working that says, look, if this is the concern, we won't do that. And that was after, I believe it was unanimous vote by the council to go and move forward with that. So I think we've been very, sensitive to concerns of the tribe. I just think putting in writing, something that seems so open-ended compared to what we've written, I think what we've written will work. So.
And to your point, I don't think we want that to change, right? Like given the concerns that were issued in the veto power of the tree lot and the hotel, I don't think we're advocating that we would change that position. We might hope for a different outcome, but that's the way it settled. And to your point, we're not debating that, right?
So let's put it to a vote then. We've got, what was it, section E? Yeah, E. So 1E says establish, maintain relations, Native American tribes for the preservation of archaeological sites and traditional cultural properties that are vulnerable to climate change. So this is that we are going to maintain relations and for the preservation of archaeological sites and their traditional cultural properties that are vulnerable to climate change. So this would be a vote aye is to maintain this as is, and a vote nay would be to consider going to the stronger wording. So I move that we keep 1E as written. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Aye. Or nay, whichever.
Nay, okay. So that, we're going to retain it with a vote of 3-1. Okay,
Thank you.
all right, all right. Well, on the docket today. Okay. Or other business comprehensive plan update.
Yes, just 1 second. Bring up my slide. There we go.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I just wanted to take the opportunity to commend the commission on all the work that has gone into the comprehensive plan. As you know, we started this process in the winter of 2022 with the Economic Development Commission. And we have completed all of the required elements and optional elements to date that we can work on. And this diagram that I'm showing before you on screen gives you an indication of where these elements are in the process. So they're starting to move into the council committees, and they're starting to move into the council roundtable discussions. So you can see on here that we've already started some of the elements at the council, including the land use element, which was recently reviewed at the first roundtable meeting in February. And then we'll go through housing, and you can so forth, economic development, environment, transportation, and capital facilities. Now, it's a bit of a moving target, and some of these elements may slip into an April or a May roundtable discussion, and a few of them are still trickling through the council committees. But this is a pretty good indication of how the city is moving along with the work that the commission has done. And you can see here in the third quarter of the year, we start to get into a consolidated draft plan, the SEPA review, and even the adoption process.
Good. I like your little desks with people around it.
Yeah. So a lot of work has gone into the comprehensive plan, and it continues to funnel through its proper channels.
Good.
Great.
Yeah, we'll have to do another potluck at some point in the game, maybe April.
Yeah, let's put it on your calendars.
Right. We got we could do it later and have a bunch of blackberries to see what we're doing there, since we still have them. So yeah. Okay.
One other comment that I could make is that there is another element, and we've talked about it, not explicitly, but it is the climate change element, and it is now mandated that every city do that. The time frame for doing it is split up into two different time frames. One is 2027, and that's our time frame, and then there's an earlier one. So we will band together and reconvene on the comp plan once the city has determined that we have a good scope of work, and we've got funding, and all of those stars align.
Agreed. I'll keep an eye on for King County keeping us in line. Okay. Good. No, I agree. I think that makes the most sense, because there's still so much being written as we speak about the climate change. Okay, at this point, we move on to items of planning commissioner interest. Vice Chair Tessman, any items to bring to the?
I don't think so tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Crone,
None for me tonight. Thank you.
Commissioner Lambert,
We're gonna ask about the communication lines along the 202 one more time. Are they there's still poles that are leaning half over. There's communication lines laying on the Snoqualmie sign.
I'm sorry, I don't have an update on that tonight, but I will continue to try and find out why it is taking so long. That was Comcast.
right. Yeah, no, it's the same. It's the same.
All right, thanks.
So I have a comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
One thing on that.
Councilmember Johnson.
Also, it doesn't look like all the poles are being fully removed. Looks like they might just be chopping them off somewhere and leaving stumps behind. So I want to make sure that they're actually removing those things. Thanks.
Agreed. Yeah. Okay. So I have one item. I noticed on local news that last week or 2 weeks ago, there were 2 DUI rollovers in Snoqualmie and one person and one fatality. Is this an extremely unusual thing? I was kind of shocked by that because they showed a picture. It didn't say where it was I mean, I can actually show you, but anyway, of a SUV of a Beamer on the side with airbag deployed, and it looked like somebody blew through the windshield. So, yeah, I mean, and it was supposedly a Snoqualmie resident that was driving this thing. So, I'm kind of curious. Do we have a bigger problem with DUI than we think we do? Because I'd never heard of it of my time here. Councilmember Johnson?
Yeah, I don't have a specific answer, but I just wanted to mention that the Snoqualmie Police Department does cover both Snoqualmie and North Bend. I
Right.
don't remember if the accidents were actually in the city of Snoqualmie or just somewhere in their jurisdiction in the area.
They wouldn't specify, but I think they said Snoqualmie area, I think is what they said.
So anyway, that was the only thing I just wanted to point out. But yeah, very tragic.
Yeah, yeah. Can I share my screen? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. I don't know if you can get it bigger this way. So one dead after 2 separate DUI rollover crashes. Now it says in Snoqualmie, and that looks like Snoqualmie. You see that? I mean, that looks like Snoqualmie. I mean, it's hard to say for sure, but they wouldn't say where it is. I'm just wondering, is there something with an intersection? I'm very curious as to what the big deal is.
That looks like as you're coming down the hill and the golf course clubhouse will be to your right.
I was wondering that too, but then you see the lights in the background. But anyway,
Yeah, that's the homes across the lake.
it was very concerning. I had not heard of DUI fatalities in Snoqualmie until I saw that article. So I just wanted to highlight that of a concern is there's something with traffic, with stop signs, with something that we could do, because this definitely highlighted it was happened in Snoqualmie, Washington. Okay, but they did not specify the locations of the crashes. All right, that was all I have. Actually, am I still? Let me stop sharing. Yeah, yeah.
Just one correction.
good. Stop sharing.
The downed poles, it's Lumen, not Comcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and I'm going to find another status update, but I believe that the engineering that they're doing takes quite a bit of time. So.
Okay. All right, next future agenda list.
Alrighty, so the next couple meetings, we will have a few code amendments coming through. The emergency housing, we had an intro last meeting on that. It'll be coming back. And we will also be bringing some code amendment proposals for the historic downtown as well. So there will be 2 code amendments on the agenda.
Okay.
Possibly, they're working their way through the EDC. So it'll,
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Very cool.
Other than that, the only thing that we have scheduled in the foreseeable future is mid-year, the climate change.
Mid-year what?
Mid-year, the climate change element
Oh,
for the
okay,
comp plan. I believe that's still dependent on when we receive funding.
Yeah, funding and all the guidance. Okay.
In general, though, here is the year-long work program. So this is what's going to be coming next meeting.
Okay. What is the Senate Bill 5290? Remind me of that. Code Amendment Permit Process Code Procedure, Senate Bill 5290.
5290 was mandated recently about permit fees and permit timelines.
Oh, okay. There's nothing to do with housing or climate.
No,
Okay,
no.
okay.
But those procedures are becoming more pertinent right now because they need to be adopted by January 1st, 2025.
Okay. All right, all right. Thank you. I'd like to thank commissioners for attending, and it's, you know, it's okay if we don't always vote unanimously, but I appreciate the discussion and the points of view. And if there's nothing else, I move that we adjourn this meeting at 8:27 PM. Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Meeting is adjourned.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.
All right.